Hey, good evening, guys. We are back again. All right, so this time we've got a 148 on the workbench. We're going to be doing some modifications too. So I got the radio, threw it here. Very nice radio. Got one little scratch that's on the top of the cabinet, and then presuming there was probably a little hole or something that might be right there. Not real sure yet, but we'll get into that. But overall, very, very clean, nice radio. Went ahead and did a quick check to see if it modulates before we actually went on the air with it, which we did. So, but anyways, we got the radio. One of the things that I wish I would have known a couple of months ago that this was sitting in there at least, because they sent me one of my favorite snacks. So that's always great. Once in a while I get a couple guys that send me some stuff from the islands, or in this case, beef jerky. Hey, good evening, Ruben. Hopefully you're doing fine. Real entertaining watching a guy eat beef jerky. So I'll probably be doing that throughout the video. But anyways, one of the things that I actually just started doing this year is, to go ahead and kind of go through things, and eventually I'll get to the chance where I actually make one up for my amplifiers as well. But it's something that I've been wanting to try to start getting implemented in, and which is essentially what I call a birth certificate. Bear with me here. Change the spectrum of lighting here and here just a little bit. Well, hello, Gary. Yeah, well, we just started the feed, Gary, so you haven't missed anything. So that's always great. Hopefully we can get in here. And I've already got some notes already started on the paperwork. Let me see if I can set it up here and maybe get some of the glare off of it. Like I said, I've been trying some different lighting. I've got 3 different spectrums here to choose from, so bear with me here. We're going to try that. Yeah, that's probably going to be about the best I'm going to get. So we'll try. There we go. I think that's not too terribly bad where you guys can kind of read this with me. Set the remote up out of the way. Set the zoom. Alrighty, so it's basically just it's nothing more than just an informal checklist, essentially. But what this does is this goes ahead and gives me some of the information, and some of you guys will actually get this whenever the video is done and you actually receive the item. Like I said, I'm trying to get this implemented into a regular practice and regular routine, where I go through here and do the basic checks just to see that everything's actually there, or what kind of functionality that we have to start with, and then a list of work that's being performed or has been performed, and then signature at the end. So it kind of gives you guys a little bit of a background or a little bit of history for those of you that either keep it and or decide later on that hey, I want to sell this, and then you have to try to remember what all was done. Well, this will actually, besides the video, this will actually give you a visual and a physical attribute. Granted, I could sit there and write out a 3-page report based on either an amplifier repair. So, this is just kind of a basic birth of, or rebirth, if you will, of what some of the radios and stuff are going to be. So, hello, Kevin. I got to get my glasses back on so I can actually read some of the comments again. Yes, I have been backed up all summer. Right now, tentatively, I may be taking stuff in maybe late February, early March at this point. Is about the soonest I'll be taking anything in. It's going to be very limited this year as far as what I take in, because I've got a lot of R&D that I want to go ahead and get on the workbench. That's been, as far as projects that I've been wanting to get to, where people have asked me about, for example, the LD MOS. I've got some other high voltage transistors, just trying to get some new material out there for you guys. So, I'm going to be really picky as far as on how much I take in, going into next year, just because I want to try to get some of these other projects done. And this is no exceptions. This is just, like I said, it's just kind of a checklist, so we can kind of go through here and make sure that, it receives or it transmits or it doesn't or what have you. But if you want to get with me towards the end of February and see how far I am, we can kind of go from there. Unfortunately, I have been passing up work left and right, just trying to get, like I said, completely caught up before I take another thing in. So it's been actually, very interesting year. Not just with the coronavirus thing, but with the eye surgery for earlier this year. I was told, it shouldn't be more than 2-3 weeks max. And it was more like about 3 months. That I still had to deal with some of the vision impairment. So, anyways, let's go through here. Like I said, I've just got a basic checklist, so we're going to go through that portion of it, and then we'll talk about. And I've already read the notes from the customer, and that's part of the reason why I've got some things already checked off on the bottom end of this. So you can bring my radio. Okay. Anyhow, so here. All right, so we're going to test the transmit first, just kind of see where we're at. Let me get this cord wrapped up. So I have to turn a piece of information up or another piece of test equipment on here. Let it kind of warm up and do its thing. That way we can just kind of see what we've got to start with. So, all right. So we do have transmit. Hello, hello, hello. Audio. And we do have some forward modulation. Let's take a quick look here, sneak peek at the meters here. I've still got the 50 plug-in 1X position here for our peak, 25 in the RMS. So you're going to notice that we've got about a 7-watt carrier, which is a bit high. Somebody's probably turned this up before he got it. So, hello, audio. So, RMS is staying pretty much solid. It does have a little deviation there, but audio and swinging about 18-19 watts. So that's pretty typical as far as chances are somebody's just cut the limiter and just left it be and adjusted the carrier on it. So let's go up here to the next portion of it. Let's see where we're at here. 27. As old as what this is. That is impressive because it's only been on the workbench just for a few minutes and we're still reading almost perfect on frequency for the transmit. So that is absolutely phenomenal given the age of the radio. We haven't taken it apart yet, so we don't know what our what our overall is. Let's go ahead and check here. Now, granted, I know it's not going to show a right signal there, but we'll check and make sure that it modulates here on sideband. Check 1, 2, radio. Testing 1, 2, audio. All right, so we do have that. Down here real quick to look at the meters. All right, so we got transmit. Looks like it's pretty well on frequency. We'll get into the more in depths of that portion of it. So we'll go through here. Check switch, or checklist rather. Zoom that out a little bit. So, and I can presume, since I've got a little bit of noise even on the ring mode, I presume that we've got receive, but just to be on the safe side, we're going to inject a signal directly into this. On channel 20. Carrier level. Let's set this to about 60% modulation since it's just a test. We just want to kind of see what's going on there. Carrier level. Okay, so 0.1 microvolts. Pretty good signal. Really good receive. So it's going to make my job a whole lot easier on the overall. No, I don't, Ruben. I have slept since then, buddy. Definitely had a lot going on, as far as a whole. So, let's see, modulation working. Test okay. Squelch is working. IF gain. Yes. LEDs are in good shape. Let's see. Clarifier. Is tracking. It should. There's no talk back. Okay. Okay. Alright, so something's been done there. Chances are somebody's put some lower channels on the bright dim. But the switches are functioning or functional. So we'll go there. Okay. Roger beeper echo. Sideband's receiving. Let's see, I can't test that one just because of what it is. I've already played with that, so all the knobs are checking out good. All right, so now we get to open this thing up and get to see what has and hasn't been done on the inside of this. All right, Ruben. Yeah, just let me know, buddy, because like I said, I've had a lot go on here over the last you know last several weeks. Have a little more light in here to it. So let's see what we get to work with on the inside. Well, Gary, if you're still in there, buddy, have you had a chance to play with your new toy yet? Any at all? I haven't heard anything back from you in some time. Of course, part of it has to do with my scheduling and everybody else's here lately. Yeah, he must be on another call. Well, something's been taped on the inside of this at some point. Not sure what the deal is with the tape. Okay. Your Galaxy 44 works great with it. Well, I wasn't sure if you'd actually put it in the house or put it in the mobile. You know, it's kind of one of those things. But you know, like I said, hopefully hopefully you enjoy it. You know, that's the big thing. Yeah, if I'd have been in a little bit different position, I was actually going to send you a picture of something the other day because of what I was working on and where I was working at the time. It was probably the most dangerous portion of my job as far as that goes, because I actually wound up working over top of an acid vat. You know, so that's always fun. Unfortunately, when something breaks, and when you wear the magic badge that says maintenance, for some reason they think you can do anything. So, you know, that was probably the most dangerous thing so far I've done thus far. And they don't use just a normal acid tank; they actually heat it up, you know, to about 165 degrees Fahrenheit. So, yeah, quite warm. Anyhow, let's get back to this. All right, so couple of things that I see here. We're gonna have to figure out what goes where, and I'll have to actually pull the schematic on it. I know we've got an orange wire that's cut, and they've just left it here. And like I said, I know the customer bought the radio because it looked good, and he knew it was functioning. But we never know what we're going to get until we actually get it. So, cut wire there. Somebody has modified the clarifier, it looks like. And that's part of what's got me kind of stumped here, is because they've got that cut, but they've got it soldered back and then going back into the circuit board. Almost acts as though there should be something else, or they've removed a wire and changed that part of it. The blue wire on the clarifier is still intact. The green one, and I'm thinking they tried to put it back together, maybe, because they've cut it and it's been soldered back as well. So we're definitely going to have to clean up the clarifier section for sure. It's just one of the things that I see as far as in the inspection of it. We've got a little bit of the corrosive glue that's back here. We're going to need to get that out of there so that it doesn't cause any issues further down the line. That may not be the corrosive version, because this radio was built in 1996 according to the tag, and it doesn't appear to be causing any issues over here, but we're going to replace this cap anyways in the system. But we also want to make sure that that glue is removed. We've got a cut wire. I know what this one's actually going to, which is the bright dim for the channel selector. So we're going to tidy that up. D52, which is very commonly cut. I've always liked to just lift one leg of it up and still leave it in the circuit for if somebody ever wanted to put it back, because it's an unusual diode that they use for this. So we'll address that as well going into this. Let's see, anything else? Let's go over here to the transmit section. Like I said, it seems as though they have cut. R131 is still intact. It's actually surprising, since it has as much forward modulation as it does. Doesn't seem like they've got any of the transistors cut out of it, so that's always a positive. Very low or to little as far as on the heatsink compound. Something else that he wanted to have that addressed just in case. So, John, we are going to go ahead and pull that. We'll redo those as well and make sure that everything's properly seated the way they need to be with, an adequate amount of heatsink compound. Other than just a few little things here and there, pretty good shape radio overall. Pretty impressed overall. Like I said, not a lot of monkey business. The only one that I'm trying to remember, like I said, without pulling the schematic, Sam's photo fax and really going through it, is this wire right here. That's the only one that really eludes me. Thinking that should go up here somewhere, I believe, as far as for the clarifier circuit. So since we're going to be doing a mild conversion on the clarifier, because he wants to be able to use this on the sideman, just a little few things there that needs to be addressed. All the caps are still factory, which is common. I mean, really is. Which that one's actually an upgraded version in the factory. Instead of the 10 volt, they actually put a 16 volt. So kudos to the factory for at least changing out one of the problematic capacitors that's in the systems. So unfortunately, we've got a tantalum back here that has never been changed. I'm sure that that's probably still a standard 6.3 that has been very commonly used. Let's see. Yeah. Lost your phone last night somewhere, so it'll be a couple of days before I can get messages. Alrighty. Well, hopefully you get things taken care of on that there, Gary. Hello again, Donnie. Right now we're just kind of going through and seeing what all has and hasn't been done to this. Yeah, the acid definitely would clean the skin nicely. Hello, Squirrel and Mr. Buck. Good evening, sir. But yeah, like I said, just kind of seeing what all has been done to this. You know, it's going to have some upgrades. We're going to actually go ahead and pull the regulator out. The 148s didn't have the issues like the unit and Grant for whatever reason. The unit and Grant actually drew a lot harder on the voltage regulator, but we're actually going to replace the voltage regulator and upgrade that as far as on the 148 here. So we're going to do that. We're actually going to go ahead and pull out some of the capacitors around the audio chip circuit and replace those with newer versions that are rated for at least 25 volts or higher based on the circuit. And then, you know, I'll probably still go ahead and pull this one off of the PLL circuit and take care of it. Granted, with it being 16 volt, it should be fine. But, you know, it's one of those that's kind of a troublesome area. So we're going to replace that one and probably this one other electrolytic that's also in the CPO circuit. So, you know, he's not looking to have the entire radio recapped or completely and utterly 100%, you know, restored to factory position. But, you know, he wants me to take care of all the troubled spots that are normal, especially since this is a semi-newer radio. But we're going to do that, and I'll probably go ahead because this is something else where, granted, not so much with this radio, but with the Galaxies. Here lately, they've been having some issues as far as in the transmit section with some of these disc capacitors that are located in the back. So I'll probably go ahead and I'll pull out a couple of the key components that are used for pass-through, you know, throughout this portion of the circuit as well, and we'll upgrade that and get those taken care of. So I think that's actually what we're going to start with first. Is we're going to go ahead and go through the capacitors. We're going to go ahead and replace the regulator. Like I said, I've got several radios. I thought John had sent me 2 of these. Thankfully, it's only been one, so we'll get him taken care of. Then I've got another one for the Southern gentleman down in the south. So we'll get him taken care of, and then we will be back on amplifiers again for just a very short, brief time, and then back to the radios. So yeah, so like I said, a lot of radios as far as coming up as far as this next couple of months. But anyhow, let's flip some switches, start making a little bit of parts. And we're also going to go ahead and do another changeover and add a variable into this mix as well, so that he can go ahead and adjust that as well to match up with some of his other stuff. And I'm going to have to get another beer from our sponsor, A&W. messages. Okay. Yep. Speaking of which, that's another thing. Guys, don't forget to set your clock back 1 hour. You actually get to sleep an extra hour now. Okay, so let me set his paperwork back over there. All right, so you guys have had a great weekend so far. This is actually my Sunday for me. Okay. So we're going to start all the way back here by the regulator. This one pulled out. Yep. And it's right at 16 volts as well, so like I said, at least that's a plus. Go ahead and grab a couple of those. And I've already got the regulator. However, I need to get an insulator for it. You guys are being quiet again. While we're back here in this corner, I'm going to go ahead and try to replace that regulator, especially since I've already got that capacitor out of the way. For whatever reason, it likes to hang up right in that area, so we're going to put some zip ties in there anyways. So if I remember right, I think Cobra used, I can't remember if it's a 3, it's either a 3 or a 5 amp on the regulator, and what I'm putting in there is supposed to be rated for, I think, 15. Oh, okay. Doing another report, huh? Yeah, sadly, that's the one thing I don't like about my job is the fact that I have paperwork out the wazoo. D1135. Which I've used those for years and years. Let's see what kind of movement here I can have. Just like with the Max mod, we're going to have to drill a hole, move that up a little bit. Let's see. It's one of the beautiful things about aluminum is the fact that it is so easy to sit there and drill. Okay, and where's this? Looks like there might be another one. There is. I don't know if that was from somebody else, or if that was from factory. I've seen them both ways where it's got one or two insulators, and this one happens to have two insulators. So I thought that kind of looked a little unusual back there. Try to take this little bit of a burr that's been created on the inside and try to take that off. Don't have to worry too much because of the ceramic insulator, but just don't want a problem. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've actually got one of those myself. That's out in the well, it's now out in the add-on to the shop here that I've got for storage. I've actually got one of those personally. It's got a glitch with it as well. I've got to figure out what's going on with it. It's one of those that I've wanted just for what they are. They're nothing. They're nothing crazy, but I like the setup on them. Now, one of the downfalls to using this size regulator versus this is not so much the physical size, but the location. Unlike your Galaxy radios that are already preformed and pre-cut for the larger ones, even whenever they use the small ones like this, there was plenty of room in there. Unfortunately, Cobra, they didn't ever see any need to make any changes. So they left everything for just a common size. So that's one of the things we're actually going to have to do is we're actually going to have to move these legs in a little closer to each other. In order for them to go ahead and work in that same location. And we're very close to that, so it should be fine. And because of that, we're going to take just a little extra caution. We're going to insulate two of the legs, two outer legs, just to give it just a little extra security, at least in our minds. Not that it would ever cause any issues. We also want to make sure that that doesn't ever cause an issue. And let's get the moose juice. Okay. Get me a couple of screws here. That may not be long enough. By the time I go through that and the insulator, no, it's okay. We got longer. Okay. I do know I'm going to have to trim this down because I don't have the in-between size. But that's what they make Dremels for. One day you'll get a big radio, huh, Art? All right, well, let me grab this noisy Dremel I've got. Trim that screw down, and then take it from there. Hey guys, that Milwaukee that I've got for a Dremel. Gee, Christmas. That thing's like a turbo engine. Me too. You still have a Cobra 29 pink in the box waiting. Waiting for what? You know, I almost thought about giving you a call the other day just to antagonize you because it's been a while. one of the beauties about these transistors is the fact that they've already got a insulator essentially around where your screw hole goes. So there's really no need to put the other insulator that's usually with these or associated with these transistors in there. So that's one of the nice things about that. And we're going to use a K-lock nut to ensure that it can't back off. And there we go. I put gloves on. This is the first time I've never gotten heatsink compound everywhere. Oh, there's a speck. Still not too bad. Usually that stuff, all you have to do is just look at it to get it all over the place. Okay. Yeah, speaking of which, somebody told me that I guess TA Truck Stop has got those in stock again. I don't know if it's all of them around, but the one local to me, they're supposed to actually have some up there. I don't know how true this is because I haven't had a chance to go up there and look. By the way, since the last time I talked to you, Art, is your girlfriend, wife, she doing better? I know you guys have had kind of a rough patch with some, personal things that's been going on there. So hopefully she's doing a lot better than what she had been. Yes, the Pink 29, I think, will be a collection piece. Speaking of which, let's see. And I don't see it in here. Yeah, anyways, speaking of a collection piece, there is one that was made on a Cobra 29 back in 2000. And it was a limited run, and I've seen a few of them, but the ones I've seen, I wouldn't give a plug nickel for what they wanted for them because I thought they were just overpriced for, as bad a condition as what they were in physically. But I've actually had my eye out looking for one of those limited edition, Millennium editions, I guess, if you call them. The cabinet was actually in a champagne color with a black face. If I remember right, I think that was the first year they ever did what they called the embossed signia on the top of the cabinet. So that's one of those that I've been looking off and on for several years. Haven't had a chance to really come across any that I thought was valid enough to actually purchase myself. But because I don't want to give stupid money for something that looks like complete garbage. Okay, if you would, Art, like I said, just one of those where I know that you have a lot of idle time. You get bored, and you actually enjoy sometimes a little bit of a challenge. Okay, that's good. That is just a break. There we go. You've still got that for sale? I'm surprised you haven't got rid of it yet. The cost of some of this stuff is exponential. And if I remember right, it was considerably cheaper than what it cost to have it built. Jewel out. Since that's part of the audio circuit, we'll replace it with an audio capacitor. You know, that probably wouldn't have been a bad trade. I've bought a few of those over the course of the last few years. And that is like having money in the bank, I will say that. Okay. Since I've already got those loose, it's going to make my life a lot easier. Pull these up and out of my way. I am going to reroute some of these wires here. When we go to start tying everything back, I'll reroute some of these a little bit different. That way I know I don't have to worry about them in a further fashion. But what's nice is it's going to gain me the access I need to get in here and replace these. Ah. Like I said, we're not going to recap the entire radio. We're just going to recap, the typical problematic areas. Since this one's as new as what it is, like I said, it's great. The fact that we don't have to worry too terribly bad about this radio, but a lot of the older ones, like I said, they've got a lot of 10-volt caps, and this one seems to have, in some of the cases that I've pulled, actually have 16 instead of 10, which is worlds better. So it's going to be a 47 UF off the audio chip. Art, you need to hurry up and move down here, buddy. I need a helper. You can even work the ghoulish hours with me, and come to work 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. It's definitely awesome art. Well, thank you, John. Like I said, if you come across one, like I said, I am looking for one. I've got one that's not too terribly bad and it does function, but I would like to have one. It doesn't have to be pristine, but I would like to, you know, be fairly presentable. There's a 104. That one's actually got a little swelling on it. I don't know if that one's still any good. I don't know if it'll show it on the camera or not. The top's actually got a little bit of swelling on top of it here. So let's get the meter here out. Yeah, the transfer is always kind of a pain too, Art. It's showing 212 for a 220 volt cap or 220 microfarad cap. So this doesn't do a lot, but it does do a little bit of testing on it as far as putting a small load on it. Average is 211. Over limit. So yeah, 212. It's not too bad. So we're going to go ahead and replace it anyways because that's what it's in here for. That way we don't have little oopsies later on. Yeah, I have another 6-pill over here too if I ever get time to finish it. It's one of the things I was hoping to get to before the end of this year was to go ahead and get some stock built up for Christmas. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do much more than other than just a couple of 1-pill, 1-pill amplifiers for this year, but or well, 1 or 2-pill amps for resale. Last year was a pretty good giveaway. Oh, he bought the 6 bell off of you. Okay. I thought it was one that I had redone for another customer. Curious. Yeah, I'm gonna need new batteries. Yeah. That one takes double A's or triple A's. If it's double A's, we're good. If this one's bad enough, I'll show you guys kind of a neat trick you can do at home. Okay, 3 double A's. Well, good evening, Dallas. Glad you were able to pop in. All right. So I have to kill some of the lighting in here. All right. I don't know if it's even going to show up on camera. Now, some of the older capacitors, especially the ones that have the oil that are oil filled, especially, you know, because of the fact that they use a gel or some kind of an oil or I'm trying to think what the other base is that they've got in there. Anyways, if you'll take actually a black light, oftentimes you're going to see kind of like phosphorus paint that you can actually take a UV light, for example, like your glue and some of the other stuff, you'll actually see it kind of glow a little bit. And now, although this doesn't help with all the different capacitors and all the things that may be leaking, this is just another way to kind of go through as far as to, help you find or locate, some of the components that are actually causing you some issues. Like I said, the old oil, the old versions, especially in the 50s, 60s, 70s radios, that a lot of people are having restored or they're doing it themselves. This is actually a handy tool to have as far as, like I said, just a UV light. You can go through there and it'll actually help you find different things. It's not going to find it all, because unless it's actually seeping physically out and onto the circuit board, it's not going to actually emit color that you need. That's on the right spectrum there. Looks right with the other one. But that, like I said, it's just kind of one of those little neat little tricks that a lot of people aren't aware of. But like I said, it does help, and it's more for those that have the older, the older radios. However, I have been able to find them in some of the modern cases, such as this. It's just one of those little helpful hints. Thankfully, the radio itself has not been butchered too bad. Most things have been put back kind of factory-ish. Digging because I see a little piece of wire. God only knows how long it's been in there. And this one little elusive tantalum capacitor that has caused me more issues that I have spent days before looking, trying to find a problem with 148 before. Okay, I need to go down just a little further. Replace this one and the tantalum that's next to it. It's 102. It's been a long time since I've done a video like this based on starting a recap or anything like that live. Okay, so positive does go that way. Right now I'm picking at that glue because it's already started to turn kind of acidic. rest that's attached to another capacitor we're going to place here in a minute, just to make sure we get the glue out. Feels like I need to sneeze. Yeah, that's kind of what it is. You know, I enjoy getting out here and actively talking to all you guys whenever I get the opportunity. And I'm going to need something stronger than my regular bifocals. Okay, so that's the 22. I couldn't remember if it was 2.2 or 22. Wow, they went from 6 volt up to a 16 on this one too. That is impressive. Three. So that one is still good. Nevertheless, given the age, this one I'm actually going to replace it with a 50 volt cap. Again, these are audio grade that I'm actually using for this whole section. You'll take a 1 pill? Okay. Well, when I get around to it, like I said, I'll actually have a few of them built. I'll actually try to build a couple for, like I said, Christmas time. You know, which means I've got to stop what I'm doing for everybody in order to do that. But you know, I know Christmas is coming around, and you know, the last few years I've not been able to have anything for anybody. I still do have some T-shirts and hats that are for sale as well, for those of you that are interested. I've got to go check Monday. It fell through the cracks. Somebody didn't fill out the paperwork, and I spoke directly to Tammy So I've got one for Carolina Kid. I've got that one actually should be ready for me. Okay. I think. Yep. It goes that way. Most of that glue out of there. It depends on whether I build it in that same cabinet as the one I did for the 9/11 giveaway. Those are a bit more pricey, because of the essentially the copper heat sink and then the cabinet itself. Um, and then I've got the other cabinet, which is the more common cabinet. And I've got this that is, like I said, the more common cabinet that I use for a one pill. So it depends on which cabinet that it's going to be in as to the price of it. As Gary has to chime in there. Well, hello, Bill. All right, so 223. That's the 473223 right next to it. So we're just getting that corrosive glue out. Usually I wouldn't even replace these, but so we're trying to get crud out of there, and sometimes it's just easier to replace a 20-cent part than it is to fight it. Again, it also depends on the transistor that's used in that as well, as far as on the one pill. 7. Tell you what, these new glasses are sure helping out. Almost makes me feel like I can see again. UF. Point 2. Sometimes it helps just to call those numbers out too, so you mentally know and physically know what it is that you just grabbed. Hello, good, Chris. Well, actually, Art, I've got enough room now. You could probably lay down in here and sleep. Not yet, John. Not yet. Well, Chris, I know I do see you out on the floor quite often at work, but yeah, this is what I spend when you don't see me out on the floor working. This is what I spend my time doing, is going through doing electrical repair still, only at a board level instead of floor level, if you will. I know the other day I was working next door to where you were at, and that liked to kick my butt hunting around for 2 broke wires, going back and forth because said, well, we got problems here and here. You try to go back and forth between each end and what have you. And believe it or not, with the exception of the fact that I have to walk from one end of the building to the other, in some cases to work on different cabinets, this is really no different, to be brutally honest, except for it's all right here in hand. It's just like whenever I get, and I'm almost to that stage now, I'll actually be pulling out schematics which are totally different than what I have to look at work, especially considering the fact that these have been more Americanized than dealing with the Japanese prints, that they may use 3 different symbols and they all 3 use the same thing. So, and even in today's modern, I still wind up with that same scenario. And this one is a 0.47, and this one is 2. So I know this is the first, I think this is the first time you've actually been in here live with me as far as on the workbench, working on stuff. But just as you've seen out on the floor, even though I kind of get yelled out a little bit here and a little bit there, my goal is to eventually make things to where I have less breakdowns. For example, the other day, I spent extra 15 minutes tying up wires. Why? Because of the fact that if I didn't, I was going to have another call, either possibly later that night or the next day, because somebody caught a piece of tubing on a wire that was hanging. And it could have all been avoided, along with downtime, because I know you'd much rather run than you would to sit there and stand around and have virtually nothing to do but go through my old YouTube videos and trying to keep yourself active. Okay. Now, these generally don't give any fits, as far as around the voltage regulator, but there's only like 2 of them in there, so it's not that big a deal to change them. 10UF. So, and it doesn't take that much longer to go ahead and replace a couple of capacitors. I think they're both 10UF, if I remember right, but we're just going to replace the one first and then grab the other one, get it out of the circuit. That way we don't have any confusion as to what goes where. And that one is turned the other direction. One UF. Okay, so it's not a 10, it's a 1.
Well, we've talked about that. Part of it is there's not a whole lot of room for any kind of cart or anything like that. However, I have thought about doing some and putting a small electric motor on the toolbox, though, to actually use that to tool around a little bit. But I don't know that they would let me do that. The chain lifter needs fixed again. Oh, God. Maybe Sam will take that one. Well, I tried to. Brown tape. Yeah, well, duct tape would be better than the brown stuff we've got. Which right now, parts are getting very lean in the stock room. Just a word of advice. So depending on what breaks between now and the first of the year, since they're trying not to order any parts whatsoever, sadly, I will probably wind up having to do some of the repair work myself. Well, just for an example, the other day I had to do something that was against the grain, and I had to make a clamp for one of the sensors over on 61C, I believe was the machine. Now, granted, that has nothing to do with you over there, but it's on the other side of the wall. Why? Because, well, we didn't have the part. Now, granted, I did use something that was much better and will be there for a very, very long time that isn't zip tie related or duct tape, because they had, to start out with, they actually had a zip tie that wasn't even all the way tightened to hold one of the sensors in place to make the machine run. So that got fixed a much better method. Not the way I wanted, but it's not going to cause any problems later down the road. All right. And in the grand scheme of things, yep. More of that worthless glue. Now that was 1,000 microfarad that we pulled out. I'm actually going to put a 3,300. It's going to be 3 times the capacitance. This is also on the incoming filter for the system itself. Just make the radio breathe a little bit better. All right. So now we've got that whole audio section taken care of, except for some of the hi-fi, which he didn't make mention that he wanted that. So I'll get with him tomorrow when we get to that stage. All right, so that's taken care of. Let's take care of this other one over here in the CPU section. Oh, by the way, Chris, if you're still in there, buddy, where we don't have any actual real solder for this kind of stuff, I actually brought some in myself. Jeez, Pete's. That stuff was stuck in there. There's a little bit of corrosion on the positive side of the lead on that. So it's a good thing we pulled it when we did. No storm, November 21st, as of right now. Or the red. That's always good, buddy. Always good. All right. Let me pull a couple of notes here because I'll go ahead and change out at least 2 more caps over in this section. And then we're going to start kind of tying part of this up. I'm going to leave everything loose because there's actually going to be some new wiring that's going to be put into here as well. But I need to pull the big book of answers. Since it's been a while since I've done one of these. Let's see. Let's put conversions. And I've also got this on the computer as well, but I've got my own tech notes and everything that are here, so I don't have to try to go back and forth on the screen or anything else. So 175. So 175, 187, so 187 and 183. Both of those is what I thought. because the other one should be right about there. So my guess was right. Okay, 0.1. I know John likes things a little bit more crisp. So although these are components that are changed out in the high fidelity portion of the radio, I'm not going to do a full blown on this until I speak with the actual customer on this one. I was actually surprised whenever I opened the box here just before I started the video, which he's always been great about it. He taped an envelope with the information and stuff in there. And now this has been here for 7 or 8 months. Henceforth, the beef jerky, which actually still tastes just as fresh, but included in that, where I had given him an approximate at the time, I was actually shocked because he actually had sent me a check with that. And had I realized that, I probably would have opened the box sooner. Most of the time, I always try to leave things in those boxes. And granted, I know it takes up a lot of space. However, if the boxes are still in good serviceable condition, I usually try to use those to mail everything back. Because otherwise, if I have to go hunt for boxes and what have you, I have to add in a little bit more time and a little more cost for the actual shipping because of that. So, all right. So that is taken care of. I thought I was right. I just wanted to double check myself. That's the reason why I pulled my book out. So, and then get that page back. Yep. And 7175. That should be back over in here somewhere. There we go. No, he's going to want these replaced because this has to do with the sideband. I do got to give credit's due as well to Motormouth Mall. It comes to 148. He had actually pointed that out. As far as for those that want a little more headroom on, frequency ranges, as far as for that. Very brilliant man if you ever get a chance to talk to him. Okay. 75. Should be 71. Should be real close to that same area. There it is. Well, I haven't looked at this in a while, apparently. You need a bike at work too, huh, John? Yeah, they are good old radios. Well, have a good evening, Gary. Sorry I missed you sending that message here a little sooner, but yeah, I know work calls. It's the nature. That's the nature of his job. Yeah, sadly, this is one of the few radios. Granted, I know there's a lot of other radios that put out a whole lot more power, but these have been very hard radio for receive quality and just general use. These have been a very hard radio to find a good replacement on. We've got some decent radios that are out there, but nothing like these ones were, sadly. All right, let's get some of this tied up out of the way. And then we're going to have to get to the Sam's Photo Facts. Okay. So I'm going to leave these all loose because I've got other wires that's going to have to be reran and poked through there and what have you. So that one I can actually trim off because it needs to stay loose. Okay. Go ahead and replace the wire here on the clarifier.
pretty well put this back to stock, and then we'll go from there as far as making any kind of alterations. Well, I don't have to deal with any cuts or anything that doesn't have heat shrink or something on it to make sure that it's all back the way it should be. Hey Art, are you still awake, buddy? Or have you went to bed on me as well? Now Gary's out on the job, so to speak. So as I said earlier, guys, I'm just trying to try to put the clarifier back to stock position, and then we'll go from there as far as making any alterations, because we're not going to do a super slide or anything crazy with this. um, he just wants to have a little bit of movement, for tracking purposes and things like that. So we'll get another cut wire. That is probably either for the high-low, since it's pink. It's up inside there, but we're going to worry about that a little later.
been in and out of it long before you met me. Saturday Night Live. God, I haven't watched that show in years. Yeah, Big L, he's got his project radio. I guess he's been having some fun with that. That was a nightmare, to say the least. But he's started doing some of the modifications that he's needed and wanted to do to it. He sent me some pictures of it. I guess he went ahead and took the meter out and went ahead and made some modifications to that. I'm not all sure what he's going to do to the face of it yet. Like I said, it's one of those where, he kind of started the project and then had an oopsie, and then got somebody else involved and getting back on track. But I know he's got the stuff. His end game with it is to set it up with a modulator on the inside. Of course, he come down and visited for a few hours the other day whenever he came down to pick it up, because he's, I think he's 3 hours away as far as drive times. Either 2 hours and 45 minutes or 3 hours roughly. And he came down and visited for a couple of hours, picked up his radio, and we sit there and went through that with him. Just running on barefoot radio, we'd sit there and had two or three pretty decent contacts, one of which was out in Spokane, Washington. Another one was out in Quebec, Canada, which I really thought that unusual. Political humor, yeah, I can imagine. All right, Bill. Have a good night, buddy. I know what most of the stuff goes to. This is the one, though, that bugs me because I'm not sure what's in the circuit. I think that has something to do with the high-low tone. No, that's not it. Bear with me, guys. I'm looking for Sam's photo fact for that. I don't have a lot of them, but I do have some that are for select radios. This just happens to be one of them. I made that here in the other file cabinet. And there it is. Page 5 is where it starts at. What's the one for 148? Select the index. $249. I know there's really not a whole lot of difference, but $249. So I think that's what it goes to, but we're going to have to check. inquisitive minds want to know. Volume, squelch, CDPA. Some of these I've marked over the years as far as the actual location, like the SWR calibration knob, dynamic, RF gain, just to help trace back and find your reference to go ahead and start from point A and go back to point B. Okay, that's for nose blinker. So one of the things I will have to say I like about some of the newer stuff is they've actually got a physical interconnect diagram as far as for wiring. And where these were done at such a low budget price so long ago, they didn't have the equipment that we've got today, which makes it a lot easier as far as to be able to go, oh, okay, well, it was a green wire. Granted, they do change colors from time to time on different things. Let's see what that's hooked off of. R234. So now that I've got at least something to reference off of, we'll kind of go from there. All right. It's the noise blinker. One of the low digits there. 220. switch, high-low tone. That's what I was looking for earlier. All right. 234R34. Aha. That's where stuff gets kind of mushed and mangled together as far as on these prints. Sideband IFA. Yeah, this is the worst part about it, though, is when you're going through some of these schematics. Like I said, is once you find a reference point, you got to go back and try to retrace it. Alrighty, so this is going to take me a little bit of time, guys. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and take a break for now. Come back, because like I said, I want to go ahead and knock out that one little section of it. Then I'm going to get back on Bruce's amplifier, because I'm only going to spend so much time on radio at a time and kind of go through it, especially whenever I've got to do some lengthy stuff. I think this one also has to do with the channel selector as far as on a bright and dim, just because it's got a 1K resistor that looks familiar off the top of my head. So I want to get this taken care of, figure out what it is for sure. This one, like I said, I'm sure that it doesn't need to go anywhere, but just to be on the safe side, it's either that or it goes all the way back up here, in part of it, because like I said, there is a reference, but I want to make sure before I sit there and just start wiring stuff in. So like I said, we want to go through and just make some double checks, but I want to get this taken care of and know for sure what we got going on there. Same thing with the blue wire that's left here. I know there's one up behind here.
but it's pretty well cut and dried as far as with what it is. But we'll want to go ahead and get the rest of the wiring finished out that needs to be taken care of, and know for sure that everything's back as it should be. So I think this one has to do with the lights. This one, I'm really thinking it has to do with part of the clarifier circuit. So I want to make sure that this gets put back correctly, and that way we can kind of go from there. So, all right, guys, y'all take care. Have a blessed evening. Love yours. Yep. But like I said, it's just very time consuming to do this part of it. Hello, DD. Yeah, the quality control Bluegrass did get a lot worse with the newer versions, by all stretches of the imagination. Um, a lot of lighter duty components, and not near the filtering that the old one had. So, anyways, like I said, have a great evening, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I'm going to look at the schematic a little bit more, get this wire here figured out, confirm what my suspicions are on the blue wire, and come back to this later this week. Like I said, because I've got a few hours. I'll be out here in the shop tomorrow before work, and I will probably be working on Bruce's stuff. So, all right, guys, take care. God bless. I appreciate you.